Friends and enemies, welcome back to the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast, the mighty CBP on the mighty and getting mightier CBP media. My name is Joey. That's Len. Happy Canada Day to you and to all your friends and your family. The true north, strong and free. Are we, what does Marty Ben always say? Are we living in a free country, Len?
What's freer than a lot of others. Let's be perfectly honest. Like, you could be in different parts of the world and you'd be like wondering, it's so bad here. We got to do "This Land Is Your Land" song, Joey. We got to sit down and start.
I don't talk about land. The only O Canada song I remember is I can't remember what it's called, but I know the lyrics like 1 little, 2 little, 3 Canadians. Now we are 20 million Canada.
Oh, I'll double it now.
Yeah, it's actually higher than that. No one actually knows population. Anyways, good to be back. Len, I was just talking to you about, I did a 36-hour fast, my first ever this weekend. Why, you might ask? I was bored. My wife was away at the cottage with her mom and a few other daughters and mothers and whatnot. So I was at home and decided on Saturday night that I was going to try and do a fast. It went fine, except I told Len earlier that you're supposed to reintroduce food slowly after a fast. I didn't do that. And I have been paying the price and may pay the price once or twice more before I go to sleep. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're talking about Bitcoin tonight. And we're glad you guys are here on a holiday. Jordan, Madman, Monroe, I see you guys in the chat. People on Twitter.
This is going to be the smallest audience, I think, for our show.
Smallest audience, shortest show. The sponsors get their read regardless, though. EasyDNS. Mark has been with us for more than a year now. Great sponsor. We're bringing him on in the next little while. He's going to be here in studio as I fart. He's going to be here in studio coming up in a few weeks, I think. I got a schedule with him. EasyDNS has been a great partner for us. Why? Well, we built a website. We post on there every so often. We put up our weekly roundups there. Len does whenever he gets a chance, if it's not a holiday or if he's not busy playing tennis or golf. And you can do it too. You can build a website, bring a domain over, buy a domain, whatever. Mark is the best registrar in the land. On top of that, Len, all the virtual private server needs met. Email needs met. Privacy needs met. Anti-phishing, anti-everything met. Okay, this guy takes care of your website, your business, and whatever it is for you that you want to use EasyDNS for. So head over, easydns.com. The code is CBP Media, or you can just tell them we sent you. Mark will take care of you. We know you guys are using that promo code. We know you guys are doing business over there. We like it. We hope you continue. And we're looking forward to see what you build. Len, we got one other sponsor. Who is it?
It's Bull Bitcoin. And I'll be honest, I have no idea what the price is, so I can't say it's a good time to buy or sell, but it probably is one or the other, or both. Bull Bitcoin has you covered with that. What is the price, Joey?
62.9 I see on my clock here.
It's been hovering in the 60s for quite some time. If you asked us this a year ago, we'd be very happy. Right now, it's ho-hum. 58 gang. We're waiting for them to celebrate once more again, I guess. But either way, Bull Bitcoin, that's a sponsor. I want to talk about them. So you could buy on-chain. You could buy with Lightning. On-chain fees are rather cheap right now, at least last time I checked. And if they still are, less than 50 sats per VByte, I would suggest continually buy on-chain. That's my advice. Do your own research to see what's best for you. But if fees go up, you have the option to buy with Lightning. So still, you could buy your Bitcoin even in a high-fee environment, and you won't get suckered in with paying high fees for that transaction. Other things you could do with Bull Bitcoin, you could pay your bills with Bull Bitcoin. So if you have a hydro bill, you got a mortgage payment, whatever, you got to pay a bill. Well, you could use Bull Bitcoin to facilitate the payment of that. So you're kind of using your Bitcoin to pay your way through life. But another way you could pay your way through life is to spend it in a real world. How can you do that with Bull Bitcoin? Well, they give you the option to buy gift cards with your Bitcoin. So if you want to go to Starbucks, you want to go Home Depot, whatever the heck you want to do, you can buy these gift cards. You can start spending them in the real world. But how did you buy it? Use your Bitcoin to do that. So you're living on the Bitcoin standard indirectly, though, but this is the way you can do it right now. Check them out. If you haven't yet opened an account, use our promo code below. If you do, and you fund your account and provide the necessary information, $21 is going to be added to your account. No questions asked.
Can't beat it. Just check out the Bull Bitcoin fee multiple here, brought to you by Bull Bitcoin. It's refreshing. Low, Len, very low. Things looking good. If you want to do a little consolidation, you got some 100,000 sat transactions you want to stick together so that you can use them in the future and not just look at them on your screen. Now is the time. So, Boos, what do we got?
Yeah, so Top W Cone sends in 100 sats, and he says he actually posts a news article for Louisiana. He's like, Notable notes, not CBP, but maybe the LBP for the Louisiana Bitcoiners podcast. We'll talk about the story later on. I don't want to talk about it right now. I just want to say thank you very much for providing us this story. We'll give you kudos once we read it later on. Wartime boosts 2 times, each time 333 sats. First time, he says, I can't tip 3333 every time. Sorry, laugh aloud. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the 333 sats twice. And the second time he sends it, he says the 2 beer mugs means cheers. Laugh out loud, because he sent us that last week.
Right.
So,
yeah,
man. Thank you very much. So Mo BTC Dick, 500 sats. Gotta love seeing the Liberals get embarrassed the other day. Extremely notable. I guess we'll touch upon that.
Yeah, a lot of politics today we could talk about, but anyway, yeah, keep going.
Yeah, we'll talk about both actually. It's in the notes here. And Checkpoint Jeff, 5,000 sats. He says, thanks for answering my question. You guys are doing great work. The question he asked, which we answered, is doing with Bitcoin and spending it, and especially with businesses, how they could deal with it. So yeah, hopefully we steered you in the right direction. Remember, document, report everything to CRA once you sell. That is the way to do things. If you don't, you're just asking for trouble.
Bow down to the mighty CRA. Bow down. Okay, Len. Yeah, we're planning on doing an abbreviated show today, I understand. Where do you want to start?
Okay, let's do MetaPlanet right away. MetaPlanet is number 1 on the things I think we should talk about, which is pretty funny because remember, I'm going to eat crow on this. I said we should have commit this name to memory, but here we are committing it yet again. So this past week, they announced, MetaPlanet did, that they are going to be setting up a subsidiary company in the British Virgin Islands. And this is a way to, what they say, to enhance and manage its Bitcoin. And I guess there must be some laws in Japan that make it unfavorable to hold Bitcoin, or at least manage it under a corporation. I don't know. Maybe it's the tax advantages that they get from the British Virgin Islands. Either way, they went ahead with setting up this offshore company. You know what, Joey? Maybe the CBP should do the same thing. We should set one up.
Which like foreign island do you want to establish a corporate entity on? I'm thinking maybe somewhere warm, somewhere where we have like a nice beach access, dock or marina. I don't know.
What do you suggest? Think? It's not really an island, but let's go with Singapore, because we've been talking about the Singapore dollar quite a bit. It's a very nice country, fantastic weather, safe, clean. Sure. It checks a lot of boxes. Extremely expensive.
Do you see, by the way, the people on the chat from Twitch giving us shit right now? I guess a bunch of people just stumbled into this stream on Twitch. Listen, if you want to talk to other people in the chat, YouTube is the place. I don't know why we stream to Twitch, but if you want to talk to other people, YouTube is the place to go. Anyway, go ahead.
Funny. I thought that was Twitter or X. Anyways, either way. So this new offshore company set up by MetaPlanet is going to be called, or it is already called, MetaPlanet Capital Limited. And to put this company to good use, they decided this past week, in fact, just today, they bought another 20 Bitcoin valued at around 200 million yen. And this brings up their holdings, their total Bitcoin holdings, to a little bit over 160 BTC. And for people that are wondering what happened to the stock price this past week, it went up a cool 10%.
Yeah.
Not too shabby. So
it just goes up. Like they buy and it goes up. I don't know. Like it's almost like people like this strategy. Like you said, like months ago, any small cap company is not doing this. You got to answer to your shareholders for this. Why? Even if you don't believe in what you're doing, do you not want the stock price to go up?
Isn't that their responsibility for the shareholders?
It's a legal responsibility as far as I know. Yeah. It's like illegal to do something else.
To say that this is a legal obligation for them to go ahead and buy Bitcoin, that's probably a stretch. But if there's enough evidence to show that by doing so, there's a very good chance it's going to pump up the price of the company.
Yeah.
It's either you guys are going to do it, or you're going to get turfed for somebody else that will do it. Right. So
as you should, right?
Yeah. Let's get all these companies start buying and hodling Bitcoin and put it on a balance sheet. Don't use custodian services. Do it themselves. Set up an offshore company. Copy these guys, and as the CBP as well, copy us.
Who do we talk to about setting up an offshore? Is Mark maybe the guy to talk to? He seems like he might know how to do that, or he's like maybe he's thought about it. I don't know. I feel like
as you're Japanese, maybe we could talk to somebody at MetaPlanet to figure out how to do
it. Not good. I know a guy who speaks one of those foreign languages, maybe Korean or Chinese. I don't know if Japanese.
It's gotta be good.
I don't know. Whatever. I don't know.
Japanese or nothing, right?
There's your CBP like sneakily politically incorrect moment there. I can't tell the difference between those foreign languages. Anyway.
Oh, that's it. Okay, let's move on.
Unless you want me to be more politically correct, I could be.
Hey, do me a favor right now. Insert your favorite way to say the Jack Mahler's yo. I know we have one person in our chat. I know. Thank you. I love it.
I hate that guy. Anyway, go
I
ahead.
love the way our friend does it. I don't want to like call him out just.
It's Brandon from Green Candle.
Brandon,
he does it, yeah.
Cool guy. I love the way he does it. I fucking laugh every time he does this. Anyway, Jack Mahler's has come out this past week to say that Strike announced that they're going to be expanding operations, and they have done so into the UK. Strike UK is now in operations. And as per Strike's announcement, UK customers are now able to buy Bitcoin with free on-chain withdrawals. And they also get access to the Lightning wallet, but I'm pretty sure that's custodial in nature. So keep that in mind if you're going to be doing that. Either way, remember in early March, they announced and they expanded into Africa. Strike Africa went live. Several African nations were able to take advantage of this. That was their first expansion out of the United States. Then they launched Strike Europe in April of this year. Now they're in the UK. So I think it's just a matter of time before they break loose and come into Canada, right? I mean,
it's they're never going to come here. And I'll tell you why. Yeah, I'll tell you why. Okay, so I think that they're officially a money transmitter, right? So it's not just that you can buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin. So as Francis says, and the guys from ShakePay say, and other guys say, when you're doing little, like sort of narrow scope stuff, like buy and sell Bitcoin, not that bad, easy to do. But anything more than that, it's very difficult. Canada makes it very difficult because anything that's viewed as competing with banks is like completely frowned upon. And it's funny, Mark and I are talking about Ledin in the chat. Ledin's a good example of this. Maurizio has said to me before that he wants to operate in Canada, but he can't. It's just not worth it to go through all this. Same thing with Strike, I would guess. I would guess same thing for stuff, even Len, like Venmo and others sort of like offshoots of these companies that want to do payments or money transmission, quote unquote money transmission.
Do they operate in Canada?
Venmo? They don't. They're not allowed. Like to send people money here is an absolute joke. Wealthsimple tried to put together this thing that made it easier to send people money. It doesn't really work, although I have a sick tag for that. Same thing with ShakePay. They tried to their credit to do that shake tag thing and be able to send people money. It's good in the app. Yeah, it's good in the app, but like not everyone has ShakePay. And so like there's all these shortcomings. The only way really reliably to send people money is still e-transfer, if you can believe it.
Well, Bitcoin. Like just send on-chain Bitcoin.
Yeah, you could send on-chain Bitcoin, but like e-transfer is the one that everyone sort of relies on. And it's dog shit. It is a dog shit experience.
Well, then explain to me how then all that differs from what ShakePay offers in terms of sending somebody with their ShakePay tag. You're sending them money.
You have to stay in the ecosystem. So I think that actually what's happening there is ShakePay is just moving ones and zeros, which is probably allowed, but still pulling it off, you have to go through the e-transfer system. Like it sucks.
Why wouldn't then Strike operate it in the same manner?
It's a good
because
question.
They could then operate moving ones and zeros and then coming off.
This I don't know. I'm sure that I'm missing some detail there, but I'd be curious. So I'm sure if someone in the chat knows, they'll tell us. But there's some
Madman Monroe, by the way, just boosted us $2. Thank you so much. Happy Canada Day to both.
How much of that $2 did we get? Like 30 cents?
I don't know.
Google takes it.
But still very much appreciate
We'll take it. Anyway, the Strike thing. I'm curious. Like, I don't know what the problem is with this country and banks, except that it's monopoly and these guys are doing everything they can to protect the ecosystem that they're operating in. Because let's face it, we joke about this all the time, right? These guys haven't innovated in a decade at least. I'm still using the same shitty TD app that I was using on my BlackBerry. Basically, the interface is more or less the same. E-transfer still sucks. Even when I send you money at the end of the month, when we get paid by the advertisers, okay? Like when I send that money out, it should be instant. It's never instant. It feels like anything over $200 takes fucking 20 minutes.
I'm still waiting for the payment that you sent me from 2023 in July. So 12 months behind. It hasn't been added to the next block.
So like this is what I'm talking about. Like it really the whole thing kind of sucks. And when I hear Strike explaining the UK, like wicked, that's really good. But does UK have the same monopoly bank problem that we have here? That I'm not sure about.
I don't know. And they also entered into Europe, and they're tight-fisted when it comes to having control over where money goes and control over privacy, or at least infringing on privacy. So there's a lot of questions here I just don't know the answer to. But the fact that Strike is expanding, they want to go more global. and good for them. And that's why I'm just wondering, is there going to be a chance that they're going to enter Canada? But it seems like, as per your,
I don't think
you're
it's gonna
thinking probably
happen.
not.
Yeah,
It's
I
going
don't
to be
think
an
I don't think
uphill
it's gonna
battle.
happen. Look at all the other stuff that's come and gone in terms of like payment and stuff that we never even saw. We never saw it.
You know what stuck around though is inflation.
Even like Apple Pay, has, I'm pretty sure in the States they have like all these buy now, pay later stuff on your card. Canadian credit cards couldn't use Apple Pay, even tap to pay up until a few years ago. Like we're just so far behind in every respect under the guise of, I guess, consumer protection, but everyone knows what that means. It's monopoly power, or I guess, oligopoly power in our case. But you get it. It sucks. It sucks.
Now let's talk about a Bitcoin node in your pocket, at least a possibility of this, because it's possible now. As someone with the username epic_curious on Twitter or X.
We have talked about this guy before, I think.
Maybe.
Pretty sure. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, he released a beta version of an APK that will allow Android users to run a Bitcoin node on their phone. And of course, there's going to be space limitations because, let's be honest, we don't have spare 1 terabyte on our phones. At least a lot of us don't. I don't. Either way, so it's going to be a prune Bitcoin node. That's fine. So this opens the door, though, for people out there to run Bitcoin Core, at least in a beta form, on an older phone that's just sitting there idly doing nothing. So, but keep in mind, as he mentioned, this is all beta, so I wouldn't expect people out there to use this to broadcast any meaningful transaction because you don't know what's going to happen as a result. It could fuck up and just get lost in the sauce. But either way, Epic Curious mentions that the default prunes it to 2 gigabytes, but you could customize it to whatever setting you want after that. And also of note, because this is going to be using the internal storage of the phone, it's going to cause a lot more wear on it, and it could potentially have it wear out much sooner and cause it to brick, or at least make that.
Is that how internal storage on phones works now? I don't know.
Well, there's only a limited amount of reads and writes on anything.
Okay.
There's not unlimited. And if you're going to be constantly doing reads and writes on,
I'd be more worried about battery health on phones, because I know if your battery is hot all the time, it doesn't stay high capacity for a long time. Apple has somehow skated on this. If you use the conductive charging on the back of the phone, like if you just sit it on actually like mine is sitting across the room right now, like instead of using the Q key or whatever charging.
Yeah.
If you use that mechanism, your battery actually heats up a lot faster and a lot more than it does if you use the wire. This is my understanding. And so your battery health will decline over time. Like you're saying, if you're running hot, thanks to the read writes of something like this, of a node in your pocket, yeah, it's going to be a problem, I think, for a phone. Phones are not built for this. They're not. This is the other thing I don't understand. We're talking about like lightning nodes in your pocket. My question would be why.
This isn't a lightning node. This is a full
Bitcoin node, I should say. But other people have talked about lightning nodes in your pocket because that's sort of the payment, intended L2 payment rail. But we'll stick to the regular nodes for now. Why do we need this? Who's asking for this?
Nobody's asking for it. It's just another option out there for you can potentially run this on an old phone.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you that it is a truly decentralized network. You're not forced to use some expensive hardware to run a node and to verify transactions. You could do it on very modest hardware. So I like this. I wouldn't recommend it, and I wouldn't use this on my daily phone. Not only would it just potentially wear it out, as I mentioned earlier, but I'm going to imagine it's going to consume a lot more battery compared to not running it. So why would I do it? But if I had a shitty phone, it's just sitting there doing nothing, I'd try it out for fun. I wouldn't keep it running forever, but just to try it out to see what it's like and just check off a box. Yeah, it does work. What's the end game from all this? I don't know. But Luke piped in. He says, you should actually do also one for Bitcoin knots too. So, options are good. Options are available. People can do it. It's free, open source. If there's a will, there's a way. And like I said, you don't need a lot of horsepower to do this. If people are doing it on some fucking phones, that's a lot better than a lot of these shitcoins where you need a lot more than that just to start validating transactions.
Boomer making a good point in the chat too, that old phones are getting better and better. He's right, actually. Now you can keep a phone for probably 3, 4, 5 cycles without really feeling the pinch. Unless you're on the Apple ecosystem, in which case you have to have the newest one at all times. Otherwise, they restrict you from certain features.
But I know people that run very old Apple phones. So
they work great. And they work great.
Yeah.
Yeah. They hold the features back on purpose, right? They it's part of the planned obsolescence thing in that, environment. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Julian Assange.
Yeah.
Now a free man.
He sure is.
And that's following a plea deal with the Department of Justice. And Bitcoin, of all things, played a part in his return home. His wife was going through the process to try to raise some money. Some $500,000, I think $520,000 was the number that was being thrown out there. This was about trying to secure passage on a private jet that was arranged by the Australian government because he couldn't fly commercial. So in order to pay for this and have him fly home to Australia, well, some anonymous person came up and gifted some 8 Bitcoin. And that was the majority of the money needed to pay for this $500,000 flight. So that's really cool. That Bitcoin
sounds like Dorsey, by the way, was the one who did it.
Is that
he tweeted at the same time the transaction confirmed safe passage.
So maybe it was him.
Could be. That guy continues to do the right things, I think.
So just let's go through this. I don't want to go into the weeds here, though. $500,000 for a private jet from the UK to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pricey. Now let's go even further here. And I'm going to go away from the Julian Assange. Maybe what if there was a requirement, increase in the need for private jets? Say like COP29 or what the fuck is going on, and there's more people that need private jets. What do you think the cost would be to rent one of these? I don't think it'd be $500,000. Think of all the fucking money people are spending,
including the $200K in food. Or
I don't understand. I don't know if I don't think they're going to give people canned tuna, but either way, like it just goes to show you how fucking costly it is to fly private on a private jet. I have obviously never done that.
I think that's a fine framing, but isn't it more accurate to say that's the cost to stay away from like illegitimate government intervention?
What type of intervention is?
Well, I think that safe passage thing was that he just didn't want to land in the States. He wanted to land somewhere else first. To make sure that everything
he wasn't able to fly commercial. I think there must have been some restriction.
I don't know. I have my doubts about that. I have to look.
Why would he go to the States? He'd be going from the UK direct, or there may be a stopover to Australia, but it would be going southeast, not west.
I think my understanding is that he landed on some parcel of land or in some airport where he was able to conduct the business of this release, and finish it without actually landing on the continental US.
He couldn't just go to U.S. Embassy and take care of this because that's still U.S. oil.
I don't know. But there's more to this story, I think. People in the chat. Can people in the chat just do all the research for us so that we start the show? I honestly think that was the case. I have to look into it. I think who was it talking about this? Or maybe I saw it on like a Musk retweet or something like that. I have to look into it more. But I'm pretty sure there's a little more to that story and the rationale behind the private jet. Hence the tweet safe passage, right?
Maybe.
Well, he's not talking about staying away from photo ops on a fucking Delta flight. Like he's talking about why, like the reason behind
it. Would be Spirit Air or Ryanair. Like they have to go budget and he's gonna either way. I just want to say boom dust. It just clicked into why are you in the chat? I thought you'd be on the beach today. Like you did mention that what are you doing?
CBP regulars who claim that they're off doing fun shit on long weekend are actually all here. So
what is going on? Anyways, Blockstream. Let's talk about them because they've mentioned this past week that they're going to be releasing their new ASIC to the world in Q3 2024. So now we have a company that has ties to United States that is going to be releasing Bitcoin hardware. And something that's forgotten, we talked about this the first year of the CBP. They bought, what is it, Spoon Doolies? Is that what it's called?
No, I don't know.
That was in 2021. That was an Israeli company that
Spoon Dooley sounds like a bad CAPTCHA that Google would give me if I try signing from a new device. Type these words. Spoon Doolies.
Tough to do. Tough to do. Anyway, it's an Israeli company that it was in the mining game, and they bought them up 3 years ago, in fact, 2021. And Blockstream was hoping to launch something in 2022, but something caused a delay. Now here we are in 2024, 2 years later, and they're thinking about doing it. But either way, last January, Blockstream, we're talking January 2023, they raised $125 million to expand mining operations. So not much is known about that raise, but looks like there's going to be something released later this year. I have no idea what the specs are. Hopes are high, but I think that my expectations are going to be rather low. And also, not just that one, Block is also Jack Dorsey's Block is going to be releasing a new ASIC. And when I was talking to the Wilson Mining last week, they mentioned that they had an NDA with them, so they couldn't speak very much. But it sounds like to me that the release of Block's new ASIC is rather imminent. So you're going to have both Blockstream and Block each releasing something in the next little while. And overall, I think this is a really good thing. We've mentioned this in the past. Having Bitmain being the biggest player, the biggest fish in this pond, is probably the least likely scenario. We want to have more of a decentralized system in terms, even with the Bitcoin mining hardware. And also with that, you'd want to have companies that have stronger ties with Western nations, because let's be honest, if you're going to deal with a company, one that's set up in United States, Canada, whatever, probably you're going to have better relations with them than one set up in China. So with that being all said, I'm hopeful that this is actually going to come out to be something really good, but still in the end, all the money that was put in R&D by Bitmain, they have a huge head start. With anybody going to catch up to them? Who the hell knows?
No, the answer is no. When are these guys going to start putting out stuff that retail wants to buy, that you and me want to buy? I realize that like it's hard to imagine a world where pleb miners take over, but it seems to me like everyone wants this to be the case. And so maybe everyone's just waiting for a sort of, retail friendly hardware drop from one of these companies. I'm just cruising Amazon here because that's a place where everyone goes to buy shit. If I type in Bitcoin miners, you get a few options. There's something called a Gold Shell KA box, 1.6 terahash, 600 watts. How much do you think it costs?
$550.
$3,900.
I don't know why anybody would even consider that.
Don't know, but like that's what I'm saying. Like, there's options here. There's some nerd miners on here too, but yeah, Decentral sells on Amazon. There's a few other kind of cool little things here. BitAxe is on Amazon, but like there's clearly here a missed market opportunity, I think. Because if I could find a miner, and I say this all the time, I should just buy a BitAxe and get it over with. I haven't done it yet, but like there's people who want to start mining, and I think a lot of Bitcoiners, especially guys of our vintage, Len, who have seen a little bit of the ebb and flow of the network and the need and the sort of attack vectors. There's a certain subset of Bitcoiners who would plug something in at home if they could get it. And I just keep seeing these companies talking about building ASICs for what? You're never going to overtake Bitmain as far as industrial. You're never going to start your own data center. So what's the plan? Who are they going to sell to? Are they just trying to do it because they want stuff manufactured on American soil? Is that the angle? I don't know. What do you think?
If it's going to be just that and their equipment is subpar, it's
not enough. Game. It's not enough.
Right. Because somebody's not going to buy just simply because it's made in United States.
Of course not. Why would you? It's such a high stakes game. So what do? And then on top of that, Len, like now, this is the other thing. We talked about this on the show last week, and we talked about it with SB, and we talked about it with other guests. All the industrial miners are going to move away from anything that's not Bitmain, because it sounds like Bitmain is going to start cooperating with them on the HPC side. So like, I think there's a lot to say here, and it doesn't seem to me like starting an ASIC farm now or starting an ASIC manufacturing farm now is a good idea. That's a little worrying to me. If I was like a Block shareholder, I'd be asking like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Like, the share price is in the tank, and this is what you're spending your time on. There's got to be better stuff than this to do.
Let's see what Boomdoes is saying. Block has more capital behind them than anyone else in this space, even the big Chinese incumbents. I don't know if they care enough, though.
Capital doesn't matter. That's the whole thing. Capital doesn't matter. What matters is, do you have the logistical base to be able to produce hardware and ship it around the world? Bitmain has it, but so far, Len, doesn't seem like anyone else does.
Well, capital could certainly reduce the gap quite a bit.
Well, we'll see.
How much you want to throw at it.
Yeah, if it could,
if you don't have it,
someone else would be doing it, right? But so far, no one's doing it.
Think about how slim the margins here are.
They're tight for sure.
It's not like Bitmain is making hand over fist in terms of money, but also in terms of that, who's buying this? It's not like everyone has.
I know,
right? Like, you're talking a very small segment of the world population that will want to buy one of these things. So, yeah, it's not high volume.
No,
It's high
absolutely
volume,
not.
I guess, to a degree. With you're talking about big companies like Core Scientific, but then even then they have they reach a saturation point. We're not going to buy any more. And in fact, we could talk about them next. Core Scientific, that's
Sure.
the large Bitcoin mining company. They came up with some news this past week, and they have a new contract that they've established with Cornweave. I'm going to call them Cornweave from now on. Anyways, CoreWeave, or Cornweave as I call them, that's the high performance computing, or HPC company. And there seems to be some sort of convergence, as you mentioned, between these two industries. And this deal is going to deliver an additional 70 megawatts of infrastructure to CoreWeave. And this is part of a larger, get this, Joey, 12-year, 200 megawatt agreement between the two companies.
Yeah.
So they're in it for the long term. And it looks like Core Scientific is going to be allocating some of what they have over there to this HPC company. And if it's lucrative enough, why wouldn't they do more of this? It only makes sense. But is this going to be something that's going to be available long term? Is this something that's going to dry up? Who the fuck knows? I don't.
I have no idea. I still have my suspicions about CoreWeave. I talked a bit about this with SB as far as their investment in NVIDIA. He assures me that the bear case is not as sound as it may seem on podcasts, and makes a pretty good case that some of the strategic investment they're doing in CoreWeave is pretty standard. Now, these other companies, I don't know. I'm not sure, honestly, what the nature of the agreements are. I guess we'll just have to wait and see, right? I mean, how else can you describe stuff like this? You and me are not sort of on the finance side. We like to talk about the stories, but this is a bit over my head in terms of like available information. So I don't know. I guess we'll just find out. I continue to say though, Len, mining as a business is not a good business. And so the more times these guys get into HPC, the more I think that thesis becomes, more of a reality.
Mining is a good side business, I think.
Yes,
Mining is
yes.
not a good, like, main. This is the.
It just doesn't work because like I keep on hearing. Okay, without going too long here, because I know I want to do a short show too, but
No, go
the
long on this one. I'm curious.
The thing I keep hearing is that these companies are actually, and I talked about this with SB, right? They're actually power producers and power allocators, and the PPA is where the value is. The thing is that the reason that Bitcoin mining companies have such great PPAs, power purchase agreements, is because, like you've mentioned many times on the show, the power is what?
It's available if it's cheap. If
It's fucking stranded. It's stranded
Well,
power a lot of the time. So in some way or another.
Oil and gas are the ones that are
Sure.
right. But
So
they have that is the freest of energy.
yeah,
The freest.
that's why Bitcoin mining really works, right? And the thing is that Bitcoin mining, as far as like, the case we've made on the show, and I think it's a good case for miners, that it's demand responsive on a grid. It helps you build out base. You can turn the base, you can turn the demand down when the grid needs more power, hot day, cold day, emergencies, whatever, right? Great. The thing about these Bitcoin miners who are moving to HPC is that HPC is not demand response. It's if someone queues up, draw me a picture of 10 gorillas fighting over the same banana in the jungle. You can't just say, well, we're not doing it right now because there's an emergency and, power supplies low to the facility because, the grid wants us to scale back. No, if the token comes in, you got to produce. And so this is the other thing I don't get. Bitcoin miners have made the case for years that, this is something that's going to be important for grid safety and grid stability. HPC is not like that. So these things to me, like, I've made this case before, not with those, not around those terms, but they're going to be doing one or the other. And I see that CoreWeave is not in it for the mining from the chat there. I know. Well, I think there's a question here that miners need to answer. Are you going to be demand response and grid support, grid stability focused, which was the case, in a lot of these pitch decks and a lot of these podcasts? This is something we can do for the grids. Pierre Rochard talking all the time about Riot and how they're good for the Texas grid. HPC is not the same animal. So what's the plan? You can't do both, and you can't make the pitch to be one and then be the other. I'm, again, waiting anxiously to see how these things turn out in a year or two. As you said, maybe then you become, you regret going the HPC route because it becomes oversaturated. Everyone realizes that these things can't even write these things can't even write essays at the grade 10 level. And, Bitcoin mining becomes the sort of soup du jour again. But for now, we're waiting and seeing. We're seeing that things develop. We're waiting and seeing to see how things turn out.
I think this really is more applicable to the publicly traded miners more than anything else.
Yeah.
One that is privately held, and
they can do whatever they want. Who cares, right?
Exactly. And if they want to just simply mine Bitcoin, it's their money. They could do whatever they want with it. So the publicly traded miners, what do they make up? I think the last estimate I saw is around 1/3 of the overall hash rate. And I think that number is going to continually get smaller and smaller as more different companies and countries get involved with Bitcoin mining. But let's talk about Mara. I guess this last story we'll talk about before finishing off Bitcoin side. They're doing something for what they call diversification. And what does this mean? They're going to be mining a shitcoin, Joey. They're going to be mining a shitcoin called Caspa. Never heard of this shitcoin before the story. And I don't know too much about it. I didn't really care about reading it. But either way, Mara, remember, they're going to be sponsoring. They're one of the major sponsors of the Bitcoin and Name Only conference that's coming up soon. They're one of the big sponsors there. And according to this press release, they've been looking at this shitcoin since May 2023. That's when they started looking into potentially mining this. And they initially started mining it in September of 2023. So they've been at this, not just looking at it, but they actually put their money where their mouth is, and they bought the particular to mine this. Apparently, it's a different type of mining equipment. It's not simply you go to Bitmain and get a S21. There's something else you need to do to mine Caspa. Whatever, they did it, they bought it, and to date, they said that they've mined 93 million Caspa tokens worth around $15 million. Where the fuck it is, good luck on them, but why? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. But
okay? Here's the question, right? We've given Mara a bit of shit on the show for Slipstream in the past, right? The out of band transaction OTC desk basically that they have there, and now we're giving them shit for Caspa. Is this better or worse than moving some of your resources to HPC?
Isn't it kind of the equivalent of it?
Pragmatically, it's the same. I think it's the same. Yeah, I think it's the same.
You're chasing profits that are not named Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people have been getting shit for that. Like I said, rightfully so in some cases. And I don't know how long that model is going to work for, but I would say that for now, I can't really fault them for this because they're trying to keep up with HPC. They're trying to find new revenue streams. This is why, a lot of miners did Ethereum and Bitcoin when Ethereum was proof of work. And I think that you're going to find more miners start to dabble in this other shit. And again, like you said it earlier, public miners have to make money and their shareholders don't care about network hash rate and network security and ethos. They care about the bottom line. And if Caspa is going to get in there, they'll do it, or whatever the shitcoin is. Who knows? This is not going to be the first story or not going to be the last story we hear like this.
You know what they should do? I just came to this realization is they should liquidate everything and purchase Bitcoin. Because if we look at MetaPlanet, the price of their company went up after they bought some Bitcoin. So they should sell all the ASICs they have, just buy Bitcoin and just dilute.
Oh man.
It's a strategy that works, at least for now.
Yeah.
But it probably won't for very long.
It. Come back. Stay here. We're going to the notable stories. And then you guys can get back to your Coors Lights on the beach. Stay here if you're on video. If you're on audio, see you tomorrow.
Yeah, don't be a cock.
Let's do it. Keep going. 38 minutes. This is great.
The Canada Day special.
Listen, I'm not doing anything fun tonight. I'll probably walk my dog after this, edit the show, and play Elden Ring, which is another way of just saying, trying to traverse the mist over and over again, just fucking dying. So
we're going to watch the fireworks because they do it in a boat nearby here.
Oh, nice. That's great.
Yeah, so we walk down and
next week on Notable North, boat on fire due to fireworks. Here's the video.
There may be a reason. Let's talk about that. Let's lead off with. I was going to lead off with a debate. What happened in the United States, obviously, the Trump. But let's talk about what's going on in Chicago because you talked about the fire. Chicago firefighters, they had enough over there because of the lack of ambulances and paramedics that are able to serve the city. And as a result, they're going to be staging a protest at the upcoming NASCAR street event and also at the DNC. It's taking place nearby there. In 2023,
DNC's it was reported in Chicago?
I believe so.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. That's insane.
So if anyone's looking for makeup, it's going to probably cost a premium at that particular moment. Either way, 2023, it's reported that paramedics worked nearly 230,000 hours of overtime, and that was able to staff the city's 80 ambulances. And they're on the same pace for 2024 to work another 230,000 hours of overtime. So the policy over there states that if no ambulance is available, they dispatch a fire truck because they have a paramedic on about half of the fire trucks over there. But you can see how this shit trickles down. So once they run out of paramedics, ambulances to send out, they have to then call fire, and then they're not able then to deal with fires, right? So the shit just trickles downstream. But not just that. Another thing that was just noted this past week in Chicago, if you call 911 for police to be dispatched, you have slightly better odds of 50-50 that somebody's going to be coming. And in fact, the statistics show the highest percentage of the police coming in will be for violation of court protection orders. 59% police will show up. But if you call for person shot, 57% a cop's going to show up. 57% for a person shot. Person stabbed, 52%. Right? Like person with a gun, 55%. Person with a knife, 51%. Like, fuck, you
know what the answer is, Len? Send out the social workers. Let's get the social workers heading out there. 100% response rate, 0% success rate.
Fuck. Like, that's how bad it is over there. Like, if you're calling for police, you're
oh
basically
my God.
Flipping a coin in this case. Fuck. That's how bad it is over there. So police, fire, paramedics, all overworked and is understaffed.
If I lived in the States, I would have a gun on me at all times. 100%.
Is it a right to carry?
I mean, I don't know if it is or not, but I'd have one anyway because the guy who shoots you is going to have one. So,
maybe not the right to carry, but he'll certainly carry it without.
In Canada, man, like it's insane to me that we don't have that right here. You need it more and more in so many different places. Hamilton has had, I think, 2 shootings in the last 2 weeks. We used to have like 20 shootings a year, and now we're up at like 50, 60, 70 a year, and increasing. You can make it that what you will. I'm sure there's things we could talk about that will get us all canceled, but this, clearly, I think a shift in what people view as acceptable behavior in altercations, and Chicago's sort of, patient zero for all this stuff, all these shit policies. They had a shit mayor for 20 years. They got a shit mayor now. DNC, perfect place for it. Let's see how well things are going on the backs of our, brainless policy decisions and policy positions over the last 20 years. Chicago's a, great example. Man, I can't believe that 50%. If you get stabbed, someone will come to you. So what do? Like, do I have to carry a tourniquet? Like what? This is what I don't understand. Like, what are we talking about here? And then they wonder why. Like, this is the thing. It's like a negative flywheel, right? Like the mayor will get on there. This guy, when he's done his $20,000 worth of makeup and hair, he'll get up there and say like, no, we need to, come together as a community. My brother in Christ, the reason people are shooting each other is because if they don't solve the altercation, there's only a 50% chance that the guy who comes is even going to show, or the guy they call is even going to show up. So they got to shoot first. And then, they deal with the consequences later, of which, by the way, there are very few. So like, why wouldn't you shoot first? This is the incentive structure. It's amazing to me. I look forward to the Chicago stealing traffic light story coming up next year on CBP 2025.
I think it's going to be next year.
Yeah.
I think
we're already halfway through this year. I say next year. Hard to steal traffic lights in the winter. So really, they only have like 3 more months to steal traffic lights. Then it becomes too cold. So I think then the 2025 breaking news story will be the traffic lights at Chicago.
We're looking at the spring or summer of 2025.
Yeah, I think that's the right move. Yeah, we gotta get that on FanDuel. This show is sponsored by FanDuel, or you can bet on the number of fire hydrants stolen every day in Chicago.
Right, that's another good one in California. Let's talk about the debate, the Trump versus Biden debate, because that was just insane. It was certainly noteworthy, and a lot of people tuned in. And Biden was, I don't know what happened to him in the past few months, because you
don't know what happened to him. Lenny had a cold since January. Didn't you hear his campaign? He came down with a cold. They didn't say he had it since fucking January 2016 or 2020, whenever he got elected.
It just, that State of the Union, I'm not sure how many months ago that was, but it was certainly this year. And he was...
It was in February.
And
I
don't know. Yeah. So 4 months ago, granted, a lot could happen in that amount of time, but still, whatever they was able to get at that particular moment, did they copy it this time around? Was it not enough?
They didn't give him anything this time. I don't
If they
know.
give it was at least a coffee. Like, come on, be reasonable here. And he was rambling on, and sometimes it was incoherent and just made so.
How much of the debate did you watch? You watch all of it?
The whole thing.
Yeah,
the whole thing. Yeah,
it's funny. Len and I are supposed to record this other podcast, Access of Easy, that we do for Mark and Easy DNS. Usually we do it Thursday night, and I was out last Thursday visiting a friend who just had a kid. We were at a barbecue, and so I was late getting home, and I said to Len, "You want to record it?" He goes, "No, I'm settling in now with family stuff." I get home, me and Len are in a couple group chats together. He's watching the debate. The debate was like must see TV. Once someone in your friend group told you, because once someone in your friend group told you what was going on. Oh, really? You guys are all watching it together?
That's incredible. Our family stuff. We were enjoying it.
Incredible. Yeah. Like I was, Len, some of the stuff in that debate, I was fucking dying. Like the golf was, I was cackling. I was just in complete disbelief by that point. What is going on this debate stage? What is going on?
That triggered
talking about handicap. Okay, so I know you're about to say trigger Trump. Did you watch?
Yeah.
So did you watch? There's a clip. There's like a clip of that part compared to all the other negative stuff Biden said. Trump will just like look over and give him a bit of a scowl. When he said the thing about the handicap, Trump just goes like this. He just fades off the fucking screen. That's the biggest lie.
That's a passion for me.
I've seen your swing. I know I've seen your swing. I know you're swinging.
He loves to play golf, but in Biden's defense, I'm going to give him some credit here. He did say when he was the vice president, he was a 6 or 8 handicap.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that?
Potential.
Where's he playing from? Where's he playing from? The ladies' tees? That guy's fucking 75 years old. There's no way.
That we're talking 2008.
He was 75. He's 81 now. I'm pretty sure.
No,
82 now. He would finish his next term at 86.
Okay, but now
he was vice president in 2016.
He's in his late 60s when 2008.
That was 16 years ago.
Yeah, he's in his late 60s.
Okay, maybe we got to get him to verify what year. But so I mean, come on, Len. Do you really think?
And I've played enough golf out there, and I could see people easily in their 60s be under 10 handicap, depending on how much. So I don't know. So I'm gonna give him the leeway here. Now, no fucking way. Just the way I see, you can't ride a bike across the street.
No,
there's no way. I think I could probably out hit him. I would,
buddy. How about can we talk?
I will have a better score than him.
Can we talk a bit about his wife? Should we talk about his wife?
When she let him off, or more than just that?
She's the devil. She's the devil. And
no, that's
yeah. Well, I don't care. I'm saying it. She's the devil, and she is a bad actor who should be looked at for her role in this debacle about this guy's decline in faculties. She is rah-rahing at post-debate addresses. You answered every question. He's not in fucking kindergarten. He's the fucking president, moron. Okay, number one. She made a huge stink about being referred to as a doctor. She has a doctor in education. You can get one of those from the University of fucking Phoenix, okay? Get lost with that. That's a nonsense fucking thing. Only academia would care to refer to you as a doctor, and even then, a bunch of them wouldn't give a shit and would tell you to get fucked, okay? Number two. Number three, this idea that her and Hunter Biden are telling this guy that he has to stay in the race. I don't know, Len. It seems like weird timing, and she's on the cover of Vogue fucking magazine today. Did you see that?
No.
Lady Macbeth. Dave Sachs talking about it.
Pre-planned because to get on Vogue, you probably had to shoot that weeks, if not months ago.
The point is that it speaks to her motives, I think. And she's kind of been in the background for a lot of this stuff. You don't hear a lot from Jill Biden. She did The View a little while ago before the debate and was like, we're going to find out how smart Joe is, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, now the establishment media in the States is being forced to pretend they didn't notice the decline until Thursday night. Are you guys retarded? Did we not see over the last 5 years this guy fucking fall off a cliff? Everybody's been talking about this, okay? Everybody. And you're going to pretend because I don't know, because you have to, or because you have to for your brand or your boss. I don't know. But like, you're really going to sit here and tell me that you didn't see anybody on the right talking about his cognitive decline? You didn't see anybody on that's sort of apolitical talking about his cognitive decline? You didn't see any of the videos where this guy couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't talk, couldn't step, couldn't drive, couldn't bike, couldn't golf, couldn't use a phone, couldn't get off a helicopter, wandered around on the White House lawn. You didn't see any of the videos? I listened to Pod Save America, which is a super left-leaning podcast, guys who are Obama speechwriters. Talk about like an embarrassment. Getting rich just because you're associated, you're just like a barnacle basically on one of the most, social media savvy presidents of all time. You had no value and you're just a complete cuck and you run this, empire of podcasting. I hate these guys with a passion, but I listen to them because I want to hear what the other side thinks. These guys are even in panic mode saying that they got to look at replacing Biden. They love Biden. These guys worked with him, speechwriters for Obama, John Favreau and God, I can't remember the other cuck's name, but a couple pencil neck losers. Anyway, they did a podcast on Thursday night after the debate, Panic Mode, and they said something interesting. You remember last week, Karine Jean-Pierre, talk about bad timing. Karine Jean-Pierre, one of the least intelligent people on the face of the earth, ever to walk the earth, really, with a position of power and a microphone, said that all those videos of Biden at the Kimmel Obama event where he froze up at the end were edited and selectively sort of clipped.
AI.
Yeah, it wasn't AI, but she said it was a cheap fake. I don't think she knows what that means. She doesn't know what a lot of stuff she says means, which is typical for her. But she said it was a cheap fake. She means like taken out of context. Do you know what the Pod Save America guys said? They were there and they said the whole fucking thing was a disaster for Biden. So now you have somewhat of a complete picture, right? Over the last week, people have sat with this guy probably for the first time in 4 years. And instead of listening to Brian Stelter and Joe Scarborough and Mika, whatever her name is, his wife, and Caitlin Collins and Jake Tapper and Dana Bash and all these other fucking losers and weasels and state stenographers tell you to not believe your lying eyes, they got to sit with the guy for the first time in 4 years. Now these campaigning, guess what they fucking saw? The same thing that sensible people have been seeing since 2020. And now they're pretending they didn't know, or that we didn't know, or that it just started. The campaign putting out this talk during the debate, they released a statement. Joe Biden's got a cold. Joe Biden's got dementia. Okay, is what he's got. He is in cognitive decline. And what they're doing to this guy is ridiculous. It's completely untenable that the nation with the most firepower, soft or hard, that the world has ever seen at a time where there's more tumult around the world than we've seen in a long time is being led by this guy is completely unacceptable. And it makes you wonder. People gave Trump a hard time for talking about the deep state or permanent Washington. But Len, who's running the country? It sure as shit ain't Joe. Who's doing it? It's these people behind the scenes. These guys are there for 30 years. It's the Fauci types. It's the, Blinken types. It's all these people who are like associated with these defense companies and government contractors and consulting firms. Like these guys are running the country. Joe Biden is gone. He's gone. The people there
play it out. Play it out. What's going to happen now? I'm curious to hear your
He's going to stay.
Right?
He's going to stay.
You think
he's
going to stay? So
they announced yesterday he's going to stay. So
he says that, but they have
and now the media's done an about face. It was one bad night. Obama's out there saying it was one bad night. I don't know. The thing is now, no matter what he says, the next debate is going to be centered around how he looks. Everyone's going to be thinking about how he looks.
If he does run, it continues to run, which I think that's a more likely possibility than him not going. But let's just play this one out, and we'll play both scenarios out. If he does run, there is no way he's going to be able to win. He can't bring himself up to the point where he's going to.
He can't do anything besides a scripted appearance.
So the next two debates are going to be just disastrous, and in any sort of public appearance he has to do many leading up to the election are going to be disastrous. So they're going to be bad. So he's going to lose handily. So okay, that's one scenario, that Biden and Harris, they lose the next election. The other scenario is somehow they get rid of Biden and they replace him with insert person here.
Harris has to step down too. Otherwise she gets it. It's not up to them. They can't just stick somebody else in there. She's got to go too.
So that's the second part. So if we go down this path, if Biden is first gone, I guess it would be the two names you hear most are Michelle Obama and Gavin Newsom. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So if that's Whitmer, the case,
maybe in Michigan, but yeah, it's a short list.
So if that's the case, if whoever comes in and replaces Biden, that is not, in my opinion, a democratic process. You're shitting on democracy because you'd have to have delegates vote in at the DNC who it is that's going to be voting, who's going to be leading the party, and nominate somebody to do so. So you're essentially almost appointing somebody to come in and say, you're going to be here. But that's not democracy. That's, we make fun of that.
And don't forget, they had another candidate who's polling at like 10 or 11% nationally
RFK
on there, and they wouldn't let him primary Biden. So not only are they rugging at the DNC now, they had another guy who was getting support. They wouldn't play ball. A complete disaster. So from the party who's all about protecting the sanctity of democracy. Just they're so full of shit, these guys.
So Harris, the best scenario for her, I think, if Biden is to leave and she is going to be forced to step down, I don't know how this plays out, but putting her in the Supreme Court, you'd have to somehow entice one of the guys that were appointed by Obama, or gals, I forget who it is, but one of the people that were appointed by Obama to retire much, much earlier than they would, to vacate that and then have a seat available, and then Harris comes in. Because by doing that, then at least Harris could continue. She has been in the legal background before, and she could continue that. That could be her legacy. That's fine. But there's a lot of dominoes that have to fall in order for that to happen. Other than that, I don't know what could be done for her. It's not like you could just give her an ambassador position somewhere. She's the vice president of the United States.
Len, over under 0.5 rap videos Kamala Harris appears in for the rest of her life. I would say I'm taking the over on that.
I don't even have an idea. I can't even come up with. I'll say over just for hell of it, but I don't have an opinion.
She was Montel Williams' groupie, right, for a long time. Make of that what you will. I think she appears in at least one more music video before all said and done. She sure as shit can't do a speaking tour. What is to come, unburdened by what has been. I've seen that clip so many times. The 4 minutes of Harris. You can't. Once you see it, you just realize like this person is just completely empty shell.
And I'm probably in a minority here, but maybe I'm not. I don't know. If something happens to Biden between now and the election, she would be a far better leader of the United States than he would. Maybe I'm totally off my rocker here, but just if you compare them right now,
can you imagine though? Better. Like at least like Biden has like some legacy behind him. You could argue about whether it's good or bad, but the guy was the vice president, during a campaign that was hotly contested.
And he was the vice president for many years.
Yeah, he was the vice president for the first black president. Okay, like that's. As much as I may disagree with the policies, that's an achievement. There's no other way to slice that. And, a lot of people couldn't do that in the way that he did. I think he balanced Obama. He was sort of famous for having a potty mouth. I still remember when they passed the Obamacare Act, he was up there in the hot mic and he's like, this is fucking huge. Good fucking job. Like that's okay with me. Like that's what a good politician does. That's how a good politician looks. But man, Harris, Len, can you imagine her with Putin? The things Putin would say about her in public, the things that Le Pen.
Who would you want to have against, like, not get like in a discussion between?
If I wanted to win, at
least for the next 5 months, would you rather have Biden there behind closed doors dealing one-on-one with Putin, or Harris? So I'm just looking. I'm going with Harris.
Talk about pick your poison, eh? Like there's not too many
tougher.
I'm going
with Harris. I don't care. I'm taking all the way. I'm going with Harris.
I don't know.
All the way.
Yeah. People, Boomer in the chat saying he takes the over on the rap videos too. I think she appears in at least one more. How could she not? Like I said, she can't do a speaking tour. She can't speak. So what's the plan? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on before I say something else. It's going to.
Well, Top W. Cone, remember I mentioned at the beginning of the show that he wrote in, he gave us an article, the Louisiana story. So here it is.
LBC.
Give him some credit. Yes, the LBC is alive and well. So Louisiana, Kentucky story. It's a councilwoman from that city. Her name is Tammy Hawkins. So this councilwoman has come forth with a plea to residents. Apparently people in Louisville or Louisville, either way, I don't know. Anyways, they're out there and they're causing.
Come on, you don't know?
Louisville. Well, anyways, they're Louisville Slugger. You're right. Anyways, causing some issues with the local Kroger. And because of the issues they're causing, the Kroger is closing early. And what is she asking for residents to do? To stop fucking stealing from over there. So they've been closing early as a way to deal with the theft. And normal closing hours is only 9 p.m., Joey. So you figure by 9 p.m. they figure that's too late and they have to close much earlier than that. Either way, this is their way around it. So she's out there, she's pleading for residents out there, please stop fucking stealing, because this is causing issues for Kroger and probably other businesses as well. But that's how we're getting to a point. This is late stage fiat, man, when people are fucking stealing stuff because they probably need it, right? Let's be honest. I don't think they're doing this just out of sheer fun. A lot of people out there just fucking can't make ends meet.
They're doing it in a lot of cases because they know they can, and there's no consequences. It's kind of a low trust issue. How long until we get the story that Louisiana is putting out public statements that Kroger is acting in a racist manner by closing up a store in their area? Over under a year, 6 months. I mean, I'm taking the under no matter what. It's not like there's precedent. There's precedent for this, right? We talked about this other times. Like, oh, it's racist to close a store.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to break it to you, but if you're stealing, you're stealing. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, and that's not good for business. We're not going to do business here.
Remember Chicago? They were going to be doing their own city-run grocery store as a way to fill in the gaps.
Yeah. How'd that go? How's that going so far? Do you know what? I have a story on this topic. The Walmart near my house, it's not really near my house, actually. It's like, 15 minutes away, but it's one of the nicer ones. In a well-to-do area, I would say every house there is at least 800, 900K, which is, I realize, not that much these days, but it's, no one there is poor. I'll tell you that.
If you're on the outside looking in, that's a fucking shitload of money.
Yeah. The self-checkout, Len, has basically a funnel to a gate that someone on staff has to open before you can leave with your cart. First time I've seen that. Portino's here doesn't have that. Metro here doesn't have that, but like a place 15 minutes from me has it. So Walmart's either just outfitting all their stores with these things, or they're preparing based on some data they have that they think they're going to need this thing in the not too distant future. I mean, it could be both, I guess, but interesting. I'd never seen one of those before, and I walked right into it. My wife was like laughing at me. I just fucking crashed right into the thing. I figured this can't be it's just a swinging door. It's not. It's not automatic. It's run by someone who is working in the area. Data point. Signpost.
Another one. How much longer before they get rid of all these self checkouts? Just because
I don't know.
It's too much.
How many Indian immigrants can they hire at close to $0 an hour to work at the checkout? That's really the answer. You may not think that that's politically correct, but look around at every grocery store you go to. This is what you see. There's a problem in Canada and in the States too, where there's not enough people who are willing to work for low wages, I should say, because they're not necessarily low skill. We have no idea what kind of skill level they have, but we're pumping them into these jobs, and grocery stores love it because they'll work for 15 instead of 18 or whatever. Right. And so to get rid of stuff like self-checkouts, you need cheap labor to make up the difference. These things all work together.
They can run the numbers. If you're losing $1,000 a day, I mean, that's rather low in terms of theft, and you're only going to pay, say, $1,200 for the wages. That's right. And then it's more worth it to keep this. Yeah. But you can run the numbers.
But there exactly right. It's very impersonal. And as long as there's still a flood of people who are willing to work for low wages, it's doable, I guess. If there's crime, they'll keep it up. It's funny, like people, and you and I think do a decent job of towing the line as far as like political incorrectness here. But I mean, like you said, running the numbers is really all this is. It doesn't it has nothing to do with the color of people's skin or where they live, what their education level is. When it comes to what Kroger decides or what Walmart decides, they do not care. They don't care. They might fly a certain flag a certain month. They might support a certain race a certain month, but they don't actually give a shit. They're running the numbers. These people are very calculated and computing when it comes to what they do with their time and their staff and their ultimately their brand and their product. And if they think that they can sell it to you for a profit, they will. If they can't, they'll leave, and that's it. Period. End of story. And we've seen that in the past year or so. And I think, like we always say, Len, what's it going to do? It's not going to slow down. It's going to accelerate.
Did you go to Mandarin today, by the way?
I didn't. I saw the picture in one of our chats. Why is there so many people there? Do people go to the Mandarin today? Is that a thing?
Joey, there's a video that is now posted on Twitter, and it shows the lineup of how long it is. It goes around a city block in Toronto. Like, this is, a city block in Toronto. This is fucking insanely long. The amount of people trying to get it, they must have waited like the night before. They must have lined up. But like I mentioned in that chat, how many people are homeless and shit like that? They're just waiting to get food. Like, that's I'm not trying to make fun. I'm not trying to poke, but reality is, homeless people, where do they get their food? They're relying on food banks and whatever they get.
Unreal.
Imagine win a Mandarin and all you could eat. That's got to be like the biggest score for somebody that has nothing.
Yeah.
And I would highly recommend anybody that is in that situation, spend the time if you can and fucking get in. Now, granted, the food may not be the best, but this is a score.
What a mess this country is. It just, politics aside, I don't think it's all Trudeau's fault. I don't think Polyev can fix it. I'm not one of these people who's like hanging my hat on certain politicians, but Len, like we talked about this before. I won't go into the details of the conversation, but I think we both agree the country that you and I grew up in is gone now. It's gone, and it ain't coming back. It's just, how do you sort of prepare for what's coming here? Lines around the block for food at the Mandarin, tents everywhere, drugs everywhere, substance abuse everywhere, desperation everywhere. You got to find your tribe and you got to fucking build a community with those people, because ain't no one coming to save you from the top. That's for sure.
Well, Toronto St. Paul, they had their by-election this past week. And
they did.
It's the first time that a conservative was elected since 1988. And at that time, Brian Mulroney was reelected for his second term as Prime Minister in Canada. And this MP that won this time his name is Don Stewart. And it's not like he won by a huge margin. It was 2%. It was a very small margin of victory. So it could easily have went either way. And apparently overnight, that's when everything flipped. It was kind of exactly what happened with Biden in terms of him winning overnight. The Liberal candidate Leslie Church was in the lead, and sometime in the wee hours of the morning, she lost her lead, and Don Stewart ended up winning the election. So going back, 1988 was the last time a conservative candidate won in that election, in that riding. The demographics has changed a lot since then, too.
Yeah.
This is a core Toronto riding. So to see this flip during a by-election, 43% turnout, which is pretty decent for a by-election. And they're saying that this is a huge signpost, as you call it, in terms of what's happening in Canadian politics, is if you could get a blue seat in downtown Toronto, that is a telling tale. So a lot of people are saying that Trudeau has to really look at what's going on here and maybe make some hard decisions moving forward. And yeah, like there's still a lot of time, 13, 14 months, maybe 15 months until the next election. So a lot could happen between now and then. So looking at this, what's transpired, this is a stunning victory, but 2%, clearly this could flip back to the Liberals. It's not like this is going to stay conservative. It could easily stay in go back to the Liberals party. One last thing I want to say, Leslie Church, do some background on her. Very interesting woman, especially her husband as well. And I'll leave it at that.
Worked for Freeland, right? Church worked for Freeland, I think.
And not just her, she worked for somebody else. Her husband was was a lobbyist for
she's a loyalist. She's a loyalist. She's a party loyalist. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
who do you expect to run?
Somebody from outside.
Yeah, but they're going to run somebody who they, trust, I think, is the softest way I could put it. And
right, but if you're going to replace somebody, Carolyn Bennett has been there for a long time.
Yeah,
and it leaves a sour taste in the mouth when somebody from the outside comes in. And I think she won her nomination and everything. It's not like she was appointed, but still doing that, it looks rather, I've been around this. It looks rather bad. And we'll see if she's going to run again in that riding. If so, good luck. She has a really good chance of winning and flipping that seat back to the Liberals, but who knows?
The electoral map for Toronto, I was just looking for it, but I found something second best we can share. I didn't realize how much of a fortress that whole area is. And now in the middle of this, what I gather is a fairly high income area in Toronto. There's just this blue riding now.
Like one blue in all of Toronto.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's like a crazy, crazy shift. I want to show
2011 it was not like that. It was a lot of blue. Still some red.
Okay.
But a lot of blue.
Yeah, I want to show this video from Rebel.
Is this the one that's talking about
a volunteer outside the election? This is as good a video as you're going to see.
Make note of the individual that's just outside the campaign office.
Yeah, he's looking for the Mandarin.
Not standing up. He's on his back.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Let's see.
Well, how do you feel about the Liberal loss last night of this riding?
I'm surprised. She was leading by 700 And then woke up this morning and it was about 590 for Stewart.
What do you think that is?
I think there was electoral interference by Melissa Lansman. She sent letters to the Jewish community to vote for Conservative.
Is that considered electoral interference?
I think she represents Thornhill, not Toronto.
What about Chrystia Freeland coming on the same day as polling?
Leslie Church worked for Chrystia Freeland.
Would that be considered election interference, though, if Chrystia Freeland came and gave a speech in the riding the same day as the election?
No, that's an endorsement.
He's right. That is an endorsement. You could have somebody come in, even a city politician.
Len, the whole thing. Like, it just, who gives a shit about any of this? Do you really care about this?
I enjoy it. I rather enjoy it, just like the debate in the United States. I rather enjoy it.
It's entertaining, but like,
sure.
Does it change anything?
No.
Me neither.
No,
it's just
what I do and how I live will not change regardless. I'm just going to, but this, I need, it occupies some of my time and I find it rather enjoyable. But this goes to show that in the past, there have been ridings, always, there's ridings in Canada for all parties. You could run like a fucking rock under
strongholds,
and it will win. So this is one of those that probably you could have ran a rock under the Liberal banner and it went the other way. That is, in 2011, when the Liberals were decimated to like 35 seats, whatever that number is, it was their core ridings, that the hardcore Liberal ridings, they were elected members, and they were in Toronto and 416, in Vancouver, and in Montreal. And this is one of the ones that held in 2011. That was their worst showing in history.
What do we say? I don't know.
But like I say, 2% is all that was the deciding factor here. It could easily go back to the Liberal Party. Easily. It's not going to take a heck of a lot to flip it.
I think the point is that, you're basically looking at like a huge sweep. Boomer in the chat. If you can't get the guy who was doing the interview, I'm sure you could get the guy who was sleeping on the show.
Yeah, I wonder if he's in line in Mandarin. You could find him there. Maybe both those individuals
no
are in line in Mandarin.
Listen, you can head over to the Mandarin with the mics. I'm not going. I ain't going.
We should have. That would have been an awesome fucking segment. CBP at the Mandarin line to talk about Bitcoin.
There is actually a guy with a pregnant wife who's tenting on my bike ride to work, and I've considered at least once stopping to ask them some questions about like how they wound up in that situation. Oh my! But anyway,
could you imagine now giving birth and having a young one with no roof over your head?
It's impossible. Impossible. Yeah.
I don't know how they're gonna make do. That's really sad. Either way, I guess one last story we'll talk about is that the Canadian CPI numbers came in a little bit hotter than expected, and month over month they went up 0.6%. The estimate was 0.3%. Remember, Canada raised their rates just the month.
Cut their rates.
Sorry, cut their rates. My mistake. They cut their rates.
Probably should have raised.
Everything that they should have raised. You're right. But I'm wondering now if this is going to impact their decision moving forward, seeing now the inflation, at least over 1 month. It's a very small sample size here, but it went up nonetheless. I wonder if it's going to change their opinion and if they're going to be cutting any more for the next little while or just stand pat.
I think Tiff is in a bit of a bind, right? We've talked about this before. I think he's got to wait. I mean, if the data is real, which it's not, but if the data was real, Tiff would be saying to himself, is the consumer now weak enough and have we cut into the savings enough that we can cut rates again and get the shelter component of CPI down? Because the shelter component is what's killing them. If they can do that and they think they can do it, they'll cut again. If they don't think they can do that and they don't think the consumer is weak enough, they'll sit tight. But I don't think it changes directionally what they're going to do over the next, 12 months. I think you're going to see 7-8 rate cuts. Part of me says they're going to cut anyways, Len, because they just don't care. And they're going to sacrifice the loonie, as we've talked about before on this show. And Looney Hour says it, and Macro Voices says it. And, Market Huddle, every show I listen to says the same thing, that either the risk is expressed in the dollar or in the rates. And, if you keep on lowering the rates, well, guess what? The risk is going to come to the loonie. And I see a lot of people saying that the loonie's going to hit a new all-time low in the next 12 or 24 months, which would be something against the US dollar. So
we were in the high 50s in around 2000, 2001.
Yeah,
so we
that's
were.
what everyone keeps saying. That's what everyone keeps saying.
That's like a 13-cent drop where we are right now, give or take.
No, 20 cent. We're about 72, 73. That's usually
yeah. So we're high 50s. So like that's 13%.
Oh, high. I thought you said 51.
No. We were 59, 58.
Okay,
It was high
okay.
50s. No.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not really that far. And with the right amount of political instability around the world, people moving to the dollar, yeah, maybe some dollar milkshake in there, I think. I don't know. I've said this on the show before. I made the case that since we don't produce anything in this country, we were really a country that relies on imports. And so we need our currency to be relatively strong. But the thing is, when the currency is strong, it causes other problems. So kind of in a jam, it's sort of the haves versus the have-nots, the old versus the young, it's not a good situation for the Bank of Canada to be in. I think I'd still put my money though, Len, on one more cut before the summer's out. What about you?
If I had to pick, I would say no cut.
No cut. Okay.
Yeah. If I had to pick, but I don't have a fucking clue.
Either that, or they could also make the case, like you see this all the time in the States. Powell always saying that he thinks data that goes against what he wants is a blip. And Macklem has made that case as well. So let's see. I don't know. Let's get Macklem on the show. Is he available? Him or Carolyn Rogers, come on the show. We're happy to have you. If you come to Dundas, I'll buy you dinner and a beer. You can sit on the other yellow chair here.
Tiff has any aspirations to become a politician? I'm wondering.
I don't think so.
Do you think think about, would he make a decent minister of finance?
He's got no riz. He's not a good economist. We had a good minister of finance, and we opted to. There's a disagreement, I think, between him and Trudeau, and now we have Freeland, who's
riz.
Different ideas. Riz,
right.
Charisma.
Paul Martin, did he have it? John Manley, did he have it?
Paul Martin had riz. He was the prime minister. Yeah, sure.
You tell me.
He won an election. He had enough riz.
John Manley, did he have it?
No, he didn't.
Flaherty, did he have it?
No.
So,
Flaherty probably has it after a few beers, like all Irishmen. But
who was there after Flaherty? Was it Oliver was the finance minister?
Was it? Oliver was the Minister of Natural Resources for a while too, Joe Oliver. I don't know how you'd go between those two portfolios, but
hang on, because he Flaherty died, remember? And he died like while in office. Let's see if we could get the list of the Minister of Finance in Canada. Does it? Fuck it, I don't even have a fucking clue.
Who cares? Anyway, that's the end of the show. Go back to drinking your Coors Lights. Thanks for coming tonight. A little over 100 people. Appreciate you. Appreciate you on Twitter hanging in. I will be doing an interview this week with Professor.
Yeah, Joe Oliver was it? That's right.
Yeah, Joe Oliver. He was the Minister of Natural Resources too, which again, like having a hard time understanding the overlap in those portfolios.
They needed somebody there after Flaherty was dead. And
hard rocks and hard money. Is that it?
Who else were they going to put in there?
I was available. You were available.
Polyev was available.
Pierre, yeah.
Right? They passed up on him.
True.
Passed up on a lot of people. But yeah, Joe Oliver.
I look forward to that. Carlo Campisi and Stefano Di Matteo coming, or Di Domenico, I should say, coming on the show Wednesday. 4:00 start on Wednesday, because I have football and Carlo has kids and Professor Steph has some stuff going on too. So we are going to rip at 4:00 Wednesday afternoon, live and direct. Hope to see you guys there. I will be asking lots of questions about academia, some questions about Shake Pay. And we'll probably commiserate about Italian soccer too, because why the fuck not? So looking forward to that show Wednesday. Until then, everyone, take care of yourselves.
And don't be a cock.
God, that's great.